Welcome. We're starting off at 7:13 p.m. with the Bylaws and Platform Committee meeting. We have Nicholas Zehr, Austin Martin, and Abbra Green here with us today. And first is approving the minutes and revisions from last meeting, March 16th. I think we may actually do we need more people to vote on that though? Because it was just me and Austin and Bryce at the last meeting.
Uh, maybe, I mean, it would be 2 out of 3 are present. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be out of yeah. Um,
So would that be majority present?
I don't know. That's what I mean. I think the full quorum would be five. So I think we need at
Hmm.
least three people to pass the minutes.
Okay.
So I'll make a note that we'll pass both at the next meeting. Let me say postponed. And then we're going to share the screen. And we are starting in section 8.
Yeah.
Section or Article 8, County Affiliates, Section 1. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. Can you still see that okay?
Yeah.
1, eligibility. County affiliates are recognized if A, no existing affiliate is in already good standing in that county. B, the affiliate is proposed by at least 5 sustaining members filling at least 3 mandatory officer roles, chair, secretary, treasurer. C, they comply with the bylaws and the Hawaii legal requirements. D, the affiliate agrees to follow state treasurer and state committee guidelines. 2, proposed requirements or proposal requirements. A list of pro temp officers, proposed bylaws, meeting minutes with roll call, officer signatures, and a vote to adopt state bylaws. Operation. Affiliates maintain required officer roles, may add district precinct delegates, and operate autonomously within the bylaws and state oversight. Good standing. Affiliates are in good standing if they maintain 5 sustaining members and required officers, submit required reports per section 2.2, comply with bylaws, state guidance, and Hawaii campaign finance laws. And D, participate in party activities as feasible with flexibility for affiliates with fewer than 10 members. Um, Mr. DaCosta did have his own version of this, some of which is different and some kind of overlaps.
Mhm.
But his says the executive committee may establish committees, standing or special, as it deems necessary to carry on its work. Its members
Oh,
shall be appointed by the executive committee and must be party members.
hey, Abra. I
Yeah,
think it's a different section because we're talking Article 8 county affiliates and you're reading Article 9 committees.
yeah. Affiliate
Um,
parties is
oh,
done
affiliate parties.
afterward.
Yeah.
I did include this one because we don't actually have a section that I noticed for special committees at all.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, so I don't know if we need to specify that or if that's already kind of within the ability of the executive committee by default. But I thought it was interesting that he included that.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, committee shall Committee shall observe same notice requirements as required for regular meetings of the executive committee. Um, his affiliate parties section is charter of county affiliates. The executive committee may charter county level affiliates provided the following conditions are met. One, there is no existing county affiliate in good standing in that county. Two, the request for charter is signed by no less than four party members who are able to fulfill the officer roles of the chairperson, vice chairperson, treasurer, and secretary. Three, the request is accompanied by an affirmation that the proposed county affiliate will comply with any applicable provisions of these bylaws and state law. And four, the request is accompanied by proposed set of bylaws agreed to by the initial roster of officers. Um, Duties of county affiliates, is that another section of ours?
No, just the financials. I think ours is just two sections.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and read his duties of county affiliates as well. One, require membership in the party as a prerequisite to any membership in the county affiliate through the county affiliate, though the county affiliate may assess separate dues in addition for its own membership. Two, hold an annual convention and send the executive committee a copy of the minutes along with any changes to the county bylaws. And three, hold meetings of its governing board at least once per quarter and sent to the executive committee a copy of the minutes. Disaffiliation. A county affiliate may be disaffiliated by the executive committee for failure to comply with the duties of county affiliates. Disaffiliation for any other cause must take place at a state convention and require a 2/3 vote. I don't think we have anything for a disaffiliation mechanism either, other than just standard removal of members. So that might be a good idea to add to.
Yeah, I like that he had that in there. Um, and we also didn't really have the duties of affiliates either.
Yeah. Do they need an annual county meeting? I suppose that's pretty standard.
If I may, I would suggest merging these two. Um, I think you could put his first article introduction, the committee section, right at the front of section one, requirements and structure, or even just before that as an article description. And then the affiliate parties section could yeah. Do like the article section, Article 9, the section that says that would go under Article 8. And then the Article X affiliate parties, right? Um, would basically be merged into the Section 1 requirements wherever they're not redundant.
Yeah, I think disaffiliation would make sense to go last with that
Yep.
model too.
Yep. I think that's a good move.
Add the committee section to
I'm
the
going to mute again, but just so you know, you have my second on this if somebody's moving that.
um so you're saying add the committee section to the beginning of section 1.
I would add the committee section beneath the Article 8 before Section 1, like as an article description, right? That establishes the power.
Hmm.
Committees, because these are essentially committees, right? And
Do
it
Um
you
deals with
think?
county affiliates. Hold on, go back down.
8 though is not committees. 9 would be county affiliates. Is that what you mean?
Oh,
Do you,
I see.
do you think it would make
We don't
sense?
need to establish committee power in our thing. Roberts gives us that.
Okay.
I see. I misread that. Yeah. So the Article X one, we just need to merge that. So yeah, starting at under Section 1, just adding the executive committee may charter county level affiliates if the following conditions are met. And then a lot of these are already there. I would just replace it with the following conditions are met. Provided the following conditions are met. Um, let's say provided eligibility is met. Eligibility, county affiliates are recognized if.
Okay. Well, you have some overlap there still though.
Yeah, just as for as much as we can reduce redundancy, right? And still get I think that the disaffiliation is the big one. Um
Yeah, I think as far as sustaining members goes, I personally I know the one on our draft says 5 and his says 4. I was thinking even 3, like chair, secretary, treasurer. Like, look how much we are able to accomplish just uh, over the last couple years. I think a county affiliate, many of them, like there might be people who would like to be a county affiliate and they'd be lucky to have 3 people, but 3 could at least do some sort of mobilization within a county. I think if we had it at 4 or 5, um, just might not have county affiliates still.
Request for charter is pretty much the same as the proposal language that we have, I would say. I think apply with bylaws and state law. I think the rest is already pretty well covered, other than disaffiliation.
Yeah. What did you think about the number of members?
I agree with your take on that. I think we set it at chair, secretary, treasurer because we've seen when it gets down that low, and like you said, our effectiveness at that. And legally, I believe that's all that's required as well. So I think that covers all the bases. Oh, I see what you mean. Are you
Yeah.
talking about the 5 sustaining members?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that was under number 1 eligibility. It says you must have that.
Affiliates are in good standing if they maintain 5 sustaining members and required officers. So would sustaining members be included in that? So you're talking about like chair, treasurer, secretary, and then two other members? Yeah, I don't know if we need that.
Yeah, or something to the effect of the the proposed affiliate must have um, at least the 3 roles in order to become an affiliate, something to that effect.
Affiliate is proposed by at least 5 sustaining members filling at least 3 mandatory officer roles. We could say the affiliate is proposed by at least 3 sustaining officer roles.
I think the requirement currently is that there's 5 sustaining members in the county and then 3 officer roles, right? So chair, treasurer, secretary. So if they have 5 members in the county and 3 of them are willing to serve on a board, right, that would work.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So they don't necessarily have to be actively involved members. They just need to be like 5 people who are on our records who live in that county.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there must be at least 5 people residing in that county on our records in order to call it an affiliate. And really, that number should be higher, but that would be like the bare minimum, in my opinion.
So do we want to, we could change this and to be including instead, to include the required officers.
Yeah, I mean, the risk is that it could be interpreted as being a minimum level of 8, but still, 8 is a very small number of members to base the county affiliate on, right?
Hmm.
So really, if
Yeah,
it's
I see
lower
what
than
you mean.
that and they want to niggle about it, I mean, it, the procedurally speaking, this is also to prevent, stuff like what's been attempted in the past with impersonation and such, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with the 5 being in addition to the 3, right? Because it's still such a low number. Um, but technically, as it's written, I think it could be properly interpreted as the 3 being of the 5. So either way is fine with me. I acknowledge a small amount of vagary there, but the difference is so small that it should not matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
if we had a rock star team of 3, but there's only 5 people on Maui that are on our rolls, but 3 of them are ready to rock and roll, we could recognize them under that. If we had 3 people ready to rock on Maui, but they are not so great and we're not confident about them, and there's only 2 other people on the rolls, right? Somebody could say, hey, let's wait until there's 8, and then we'd have to ultimately vote on whether or not it meets the criteria, is how
Hmm.
I would see that going.
all right. I'm going to motion then to add the disaffiliation language from DaCosta's version as a new subsection, subsection 5.
I'll second.
Right on. We have a motion and a second. We can begin discussion. Uh, one question I have on the disaffiliation, it says really the only thing that they can be disaffiliated for is failure to perform their duties. Does that clearly include the financial reporting duties?
If we maybe bump it down past our section 2, it could.
It might be worth specifying in all sections of this article.
Yeah, let me move this.
I can propose an amendment to that effect if you guys are in agreement.
Yeah, kind of the way I was picturing the disaffiliation would be almost like this is how it becomes an affiliate, this is how they operate, this is how they disaffiliate. And it kind of tells the story in three succinct sections.
That's right.
Makes sense.
The distinction there is that let's say that they take an unpopular political stand that we don't necessarily like, right? We would not have the ability to disaffiliate them from the executive committee. We would have to do so from a special convention, right?
Mm.
That's the drawback. So these county affiliates can, to some extent, undermine us if we don't have anything in the requirements that say that they have to generally adhere to the statement of principles and standards of the party, right? So that might be also worth amending into there is language that says they have to abide by our platform and statement of principles,
That part
or
in there.
must not undermine them. Maybe it would be a better way to say that. Must not undermine. It's probably a more
Number
flexible.
4C says must comply with bylaws, state
Mhm.
guidelines, and Hawaii campaign finance laws.
Yeah, we need our statement of principles or our platform on there too. They don't have to follow the platform to a T, but at least they cannot be undermining it. I would want to remove a county affiliate that was deliberately undermining our platform politically. And I think that's a reasonable reason.
Is that not the definition of sustaining member, though?
No, because you'd have to prove that they weren't a sustaining member first. And by the way, this is not a sustaining member issue, it's an affiliate issue, right? So if say the county of Maui decides to embrace the temporary temporary vacation rental scheme tax, right? And they start doing this big program to promote that on Maui, right? That would be a major like undermining of our entire like what we stand for as a party. And if somebody were trying to make a big deal about that, tying our hands to force us to wait until a convention.
Okay.
If we have somebody saying, hey, like, trans care should be mandatory or whatever, and undermining us in a way that's politically sensitive, right? We would want to be able to say, hey, knock that off, or we're going to have to look at like some discipline. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to listen to us, disaffiliation is really the only true tool we have to protect our brand, right? We can't just we can't nitty gritty pick at because these county affiliates will be electing their own officers. We can't just fire their
Mhm.
officers and say elect a new one, right? So
ideally, we want them to be as autonomous as we are in a lot of ways, but
in a lot of ways, yes. But one thing they must not do is they must not undermine our political platform. Does that make sense?
yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
just add the platform?
Say platform and goals must not undermine the platform and goals of the party. Make it vague so that not too vague, but like if somebody's saying this affiliate is undermining the party and they can get a 2/3 vote in the executive committee to say yeah that they are, that's enough, right? They should be disaffiliated at that point, right? Because you'd have to do something pretty serious to get the executive committee to vote like that, right? Which would be against the platform. So that means either haters have completely taken over the board and earnest libertarianism is really pissing them off, or more likely, the county affiliate is going rogue. And that's the best way for them to undermine us. One of the best ways, other than running crazy candidates in our name, which as long as we don't endorse them, it doesn't really matter, right? But
Undermine the platform.
Do we have stated goals?
not necessarily in the bylaws, but if the party were, for instance, to state a goal, like we're going to try to, tip this election, or we're going to try to deal with this issue, and then a county affiliate decides to go against that stated goal of the party, right? That would be a situation where it could be, yeah. I think it's not that they have to not go. It's not that they have to go along with whatever the state party wants them to do. I don't want to tie their hands like that. I just want to make it so that they cannot undermine and directly try to contravene what the state party is doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for that, I agree with the intent. At the same time, I feel like there's a lot of ambiguity that could be fought. Um, if we say like the bylaws and the platform, then that gives more autonomy. They might not always go with like the centralized planning that we're doing for the state, but as long as they're within operating within the bylaws and the platform, then
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that's a
I think
little
that's fair.
safer.
That's
That
fair.
that
Yeah, the
was
goals.
gonna be my suggestion instead was comply with the bylaws and platforms, state guidelines, and Hawaii campaign finance laws.
Yeah.
How about comply with the bylaws and the duties of affiliates and refrain from undermining well, I don't know if that's really the right way to phrase that.
I feel like that's one of those little nitpicky lines that, like,
Yeah.
for convention, people might start a war over.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay. No, I get it. I get it. And for disaffiliation outside of a convention, we should set a pretty high threshold, you know. It should be
Yeah.
it should be like three quarters, you know, at least two-thirds, um, if not three quarters.
Hmm.
And that will probably go a long way. If there's a lot of agreement, you know, that's great. In theory, if there's a county affiliate, they have a vote on the board. So that would mean like they would have to get they basically have to be the only one voting against disaffiliation in order for the executive committee to get there with any votes against it. So that that seems right to me. We have a small committee, so if you can't get one other person on your side to defend your county affiliate, there's something wrong there, right? Um, but I do agree with what you guys are saying. So we can just bind them to the platform, and that's probably the best way to do it.
For being, I'd have to go back to review this section, but for being able to vote in a state level meeting, would that county affiliate be in addition to at large?
No, they will take the
Or
place of the at-larges. So
okay,
the at-larges originally started out as county chairs, and then the affiliates started going defunct. And rather than
right,
trying to fix the defunct affiliates, they they just made the chairs at-large positions so they
yeah,
could still keep a full board, right? But
gotcha.
if you don't have that many people to keep a county affiliate running, you know, then you don't need that representation. You shouldn't have that extra board vote, right? Unless there's people
Mm,
that it represents.
Right. So
So
these bylaws, we would be voting on the four core officers at the state convention, and then whichever affiliate,
one,
whichever county affiliates are already in place will also get their chair at that time.
right. And
okay,
they can vote them either at the state convention or at their own annual meeting. So they can have their state convention at the same time as ours and vote on their officers there, right? But really the best way is to let them do it independently.
Are you sure?
Um, yeah, it wouldn't be too hard.
I thought it was set up for state convention. Oops. Sorry, guys.
I might be mistaken, but I think the officer elections are at state convention, and the one at large seat is at state convention, right? The four county chairs could be elected at convention or at a county annual meeting, right? But either way, it would only be one. Whoops, they would have their own um,
Like they would have the power to elect their own officers independently of the state convention, though, and it makes sense to do this because otherwise you risk having, like, if Maui has their election but the convention is happening on Big Island or Oahu, then a bunch of Maui members aren't going to be able to show up and vote the same way that they would at their county, right? So we want those county affiliates to be able to empower their officers independently of us. They can do it at convention if they so please, in theory, right? But I don't personally like that. In fact, I really think, as I'm discussing it here, I kind of think we should just make them do it at their annual meeting, right? And that those annual meetings should happen before convention, or on their own cycle, so that the county chairs are in place by the time it comes to convention and all of that, right?
This says the
What are
state
your thoughts?
should maintain an odd number of members. If the total officer and county chairs is even, an at-large member may be elected at the state convention. It doesn't really say, maybe it's in convention section.
The idea is the county affiliates would be fully able to elect their own officers under Roner and under their ability to affiliate. They wouldn't need to ask our permission for authority to do that. We recognize the county chair that they elect, right, as a board member.
The state committee facilitates conventions. I feel like
their annual meeting would be, they would elect their officers, and they can do it on 1 or 2 year terms, however they want.
regular state conventions occur every odd-numbered year, holding the highest authority over party operations. Elections of executive officers and state committee members occur at each convention, to be held every odd number year. The state committee facilitates conventions with 60 days notice provided to members and 30 days public notice. If high attendance hindered, okay. Special conventions.
You're still looking at the convention section, which would not contain information about county affiliate conventions. That would be under affiliates.
It would be under affiliates. That's where we were, though. I didn't see it under affiliates.
You might want to mute your thing.
No, you got to mute yours.
Yeah,
My
that's
thought is that here, I'll use your microphone. Can you hear me? Yeah.
yeah, I hear you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this is not something that I think you have to specify. We're being a little overly anal about it, in my opinion. Or at least, hold on. There we go. Fixed it. Sorry. We're being a little bit too specific about it. The county affiliates, if they're recognized, elect their own officers independently of us. They don't need our permission or instructions on how to do that unless we want to give it to them. And I don't think we should. I think we should leave it totally open to them to schedule their own annual meetings. As long as they're sending us compliance and everything, we know who represents them, who is their officers and all of that. So it shouldn't be an issue. State convention is only about the state parties, not about the county parties, because that would disadvantage any county where the convention is not happening. So if the convention happens on Oahu, Kauai, Maui, and Big Island are all disadvantaged because getting their members to Oahu is going to be more challenging than having their own on-island convention, right? So we want to make sure that they can handle their leadership and those decisions in their county affiliate. So I have left it open for them according to Roberts and our bylaws. So the things that we do, they could literally just adopt the same for their affiliate.
whatever's not technically binding, they can just fall back on Ronner, but for the most part, they'll be doing what we do, but not at the same time necessarily.
Yeah, and I think that gets covered well with section 1, 2B. They have their proposed bylaws.
Yeah, exactly. They have to have proposed bylaws, so
That would cover it.
it would, yeah. And that's kind of my thought, is just leave that stuff open for them. The only thing they have to do is provide us information and stay the hell out of our way, right? Like and stay out of our way, meaning like they don't attack they're not going rogue, right? They're participating and covering their bases on the island independently without us having to micromanage them.
So if we're not micromanaging, could they in theory like have 3 people on their board who are in those positions and they just never have conventions and they just keep the same members like as long as they choose?
No, because the bylaws call for an annual meeting.
That would be, yeah.
With
Annual reports.
wherever
Well,
it
that'd be reports.
where it specifies their annual meeting, and that should be in there. If it's not, I'm pretty sure it is. Here, hold on.
That was what I was trying to look for.
Yeah, I think we should amend this. We should add right here in this good standing section, conduct an annual meeting. And we should probably do, I don't know, we could make them elect officers annually from the counties, but I think that's a little fast. So with officer elections held on every odd numbered year.
Yeah, I agree.
So add a requirement to hold an annual meeting and conduct officer elections at every odd number year annual meeting.
Annual meeting. And select.
And hold officer elections for the county.
To hold.
Hold county officer elections in every odd numbered years annual meeting.
The state convention is odd numbered. Are we sure we don't want to stagger that? And make
I was
it
thinking
even
about
for
that too.
counties?
I was thinking about that too. One thing, we don't have to specify this part. We could leave it up to their bylaws, which we have to review, right?
True.
They need to hold an annual meeting for sure and say at which officers can be elected on an at least on a 2-year cycle. You can specify it like that.
Hold on. We say annual meeting an odd numbered year.
You can say annual meeting with officers elected to a 2-year term.
There we go.
Bingo. That sound good to you, Nick?
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. We're doing like an omnibus motion here, right? where we have more than one thing that we're just voting on
Yeah, we have yet to hold a vote.
at the end. That's fine with me if you guys don't mind. If anybody wants to call the question, we can.
But yeah, I'd like to
separate
call
things
it
out.
by now because we have this one and this one waiting now, so I don't want to lose track. But,
Okay. Any other discussion or amendments?
here, I'll motion for this one.
Do we have one motion or several?
We have this one or two, depending on how you break it up.
Can I consider these
And then we have
amendments
this one.
with the same? Looks like two motions. All
It
right.
is. Yeah.
I'm going to call the question on the prior one, since I think we got ahead of ourselves. On this prior one, which is seconded on the disaffiliation language, is there any objection to the amended motion? Passes without objection. Now, on the other proposed motion, I notice we do not yet have a second. This is
I
motion,
can second.
yes, 4C, and I think we're, oh, I see. Subsection. Excellent. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none.
No.
Is there any objection? Sorry, Nick, did you have something to say?
No, no discussion.
Okay. Hearing no objection, no discussion, motion passes. Excellent. All right. Okay, so bylaw and platform changes require. Here's my suggestion. Unanimous approval on the even on for bylaw changes is dangerous. Right? It's a pretty dangerous thing to do. It's a good oh shit button for the committee.
I agree with that because if our state committee is just a couple people at the time, that's
Well, here's the thing. For us, since we're kind of like the seed members, right? We're the ones that are, there's not a lot of disagreement. What this would do is this would protect us and allow us to change the bylaws. We could actually amend it to remove this unanimous state committee approval line if we wanted to. The reason why it is included in here is just in case we needed to deal with something like Oregon's situation where they accidentally created an impossible quorum requirement based on how they defined membership. Right? Mm-hmm. So they defined membership as being free, and anyone who's registered as a libertarian and anyone who so expresses a desire to be a member is a member. But there's a quorum requirement at convention that now they can never meet because they would need like 10,000 libertarians to show up in one place. Right? Oops.
That's major like a personal problem.
Major bylaw issue, right? How do you fix that?
Sure,
it's a
but
disaster.
You can't just.
It's
I don't know. I don't know if I like unanimous state.
They haven't had a convention in years for this exact reason.
Like such a fluke. Like
it is, but it's just a good, funny example of how bad things can go with bylaws if you're not really careful. So this is my oh shit handle. We do not have to leave it in. We can remove it. The idea is that if all members of the committee are in agreement, then, it probably needs to be changed. We don't have a very divided committee, and I have a hard time seeing this being problematic if any of us felt like there needed to be a change. So this just gives us training wheels. And since we have another year,
see it being a problem if our party grew or had a lot of activity all of a sudden, and the state committee decided to just change the rules up. Like,
we wouldn't want to leave that provision in. I would
Yeah.
suggest this is for the first year going into the next convention where there are elections, right? We should have a pretty good idea of
Yeah,
what it's like to operate
not
under
how
these.
bylaws revisions work.
Well, no, you can allow for bylaw changes to occur approval at a state convention without any notice. I would say without notice, it should be 2/3. With notice, it can be a basic majority. That's what we really want in the final product of these bylaws. This unanimous state committee approval is literally an oh shit handle just in case, since we're doing the big rewrite. And it's okay if you guys don't want to leave that in. But for section 1 here, bylaw and platform changes require, I would say, approval at a state convention with prior notice, right, from the bylaws committee, or with prior approval from the bylaws committee and notice of at least 60 days.
2 members.
Yeah,
Okay.
notice.
Um,
That would be
yeah,
a simple majority. And then 2/3 if it's without notice.
With notice. What'd you say?
So approval of the state convention with approval from the bylaws committee.
With approval.
With prior approval from the bylaw committee. And at least 60 days notice to members. 60 days prior notice to members.
and we had 60 days earlier too, right? I believe for convention.
Yeah, for convention we did, because that's.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
we
remember.
have that rule already in our own bylaws now that you have to provide prior notice for the change, which means no snap changes.
Well,
Right.
our current bylaws cover platform, not notice on bylaws.
No, they cover notice on bylaws.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Robert's does too.
Yeah.
But I think our own bylaws specifically say that in order to amend it, you
Just the
need.
platform. Stupid, but it's just the platform.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. We can later. But the point is that you would not be able to do this without 2/3 if there's no prior notice. If there is prior notice, we should allow it to be approved. I think current rules are basically like 2/3 approval with notice. So this would relax that, make it possible to make changes with a simple majority, but it would require notice and process first. The alternative is allow it by 2/3 vote.
I don't think it would allow any different though, because doesn't Robert's Rules also say 2/3 for bylaws changes?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it specifies the process for the bylaws committee, which gets you around the 2/3. So you don't necessarily need 2/3, but it is a good idea to have a high threshold. So we can look that up really quick if you guys want. I'm down to set it at 2/3 or 3/4 without notice. 2/3 with notice.
I don't think there's any reason to change the rules without notice, is there?
Like we just saw one where we wanted to make an amendment to the bylaws in situ at the convention and we couldn't because we needed prior notice. Would have been fine if it just had a high, threshold. It wasn't. In that case, everybody would have agreed on how to do that, right? But that rule was not allowed because we could not make sudden changes to the bylaws. We could keep it that way.
It's still a standing rule anyway.
No, it's not the same. That's part of why we ended up with having to rule everybody's participation out of order. We couldn't fix that problem on the spot to allow people to participate.
So you're saying you want to change it to where we can just basically change it from the floor of any meeting?
No, from the convention.
The convention, yeah.
If you're at convention and somebody proposes a bylaw change,
But
right?
with unanimous state committee approval being an option here, that would literally mean you could do no notice and state committee.
Take these separately. This is temporary. This is not meant to be something we live with. Sorry, that echo's driving me nuts.
You can't have a temporary
Because you can use this provision to get rid of this provision. It's just to prevent us from getting trapped. Separate these two. These are two totally different things. This one is because things are new, number two, right? And is a safeguard. It's not meant to be permanent.
The bylaws are permanent. I don't understand.
If we vote unanimously to remove this section two, the subsection two right here,
Yeah.
right, then it's permanent, right? That allows the committee to live under the rules for that first year and make any amendments that are needed if they are unanimously agreed upon. So any one member can object and say no, right? And I think this is safe for our circumstance. I would not leave this in place, though, in the long term. But that is a separate issue from how to do amendments in general. Amendments in general, we should have a process with notice and we should have a process without notice.
Mhm.
If we need a without notice bylaw change, it should be damn near unanimous, very high threshold, 3/4 or more, right? If it's a noticed change, it can be a lower threshold, 2/3 or even a majority. My recommendation would be to do here. I'll actually write it.
So, and then I was gonna say I agree with that, and I would also think that number two should have a notice requirement. So, like unanimous state committee approval, with notice of, I don't know, like 30 days, uh, in writing, submitted, distributed to members prior to consideration.
Yeah, I think at a minimum.
Yeah, I think that would help. If we gave notice, people could attend the bylaws meeting and at least make an appeal before we vote for unanimous approval.
Okay, so a 7/8 majority is required for proposed amendments. Oops, without notice is no prior notice has been for any proposed amendment. Okay, that gives our convention the ability to do shit on the fly if they really need to, right? As long as 7/8 of us are in favor, we can waive the notice requirement. Otherwise, approval at a state convention should require 2/3. That's a lower threshold than 7/8, much lower, right? So we still need a supermajority of agreement, right? We could lower this to majority, but I don't know that that's a good idea. I think leaving it at 2/3 is smart. Bylaws committee will basically work it out, get something that everybody agrees on, 60 days notice, 2/3 vote. That's the process to get a bylaw change unless everybody freaking agrees. That would be my motion.
Okay.
Any suggestions or amendments before we solidify this any further? Or is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, and this is to replace section 1. We can deal with section 2 next, or subsection 2. Okay, cool. The purpose of this is to give a lot of agreement requirement and a notice requirement unless there's a real whole bunch of agreement. Okay, anyway. Any discussion, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll move this to a vote. You have something to say, Mr. Zehr?
I was just, as far as number 2, is that going to be a separate motion then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll deal
we'll
with
do
that
that.
on a separate.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nope, nothing.
Cool. All right. Any objection on the question? Any objection? No objection. Passes without objection. All right, moving on to section 2. Section 2 is, again, just a what if we fucked it up thing. And I'm okay with taking that out if you guys are uncomfortable with it, but I think it's my personal advice would be leave it in and vote to remove it either at the very end of the tenure or at the next convention. Training wheels.
So for that one, I think it is good to have in there, but I think if there's notice provided, then it would make sense. That way, it gives members a chance to object or
Yeah,
state their concerns before a unanimous vote.
I
you're
think
totally right.
with the 7/8 majority that you added, though, I don't know if we need
90
part
days.
2.
This is different. This is our executive state committee, right? So this is the elected committee, not the convention. Nick says,
I see,
yeah, Nick's pointing out that a notice requirement would make this safer so that members have a chance to give feedback. And that makes perfect sense.
Why are we doing without notice to a convention, though? It seems.
Because that happens all the time where there's like a bylaw dispute and the way that it's been interpreted is like problematic for some reason and
you
want
can't add it to the agenda because it needs notice.
right
Yeah,
and you can
okay.
suspend the rules to get there, but then if you don't have a way of amending the bylaws in the bylaws that's clear, it can be a real problem, right? So you need to discern between, like right now our current problem is there's no distinction between snap amendments and amendments with notice, right? And it just forbids everything that hasn't met that notice threshold, which that is a good way to deal with potential curveballs, right? But I don't think this will be a problem. I think the high threshold will deal with that. Nick, what notice period do you think would be appropriate here? 60 days, 90 days?
Oh man, I was going simple. I was gonna say 30 days.
Okay.
Because I mean that would be, in my mind, plenty of time. It could go out on all the social media and the monthly monthly bulletin.
Could I suggest that we just keep it consistent at 60 days? That way it isn't a temptation for future boards to accidentally leave it in at convention,
Sure.
you know? We don't want to make it look like we have an easier way for us to change. Pardon me. Cool. Any further discussion on notice requirement for section 2? All right, cool. Oh, you know what? Can I offer? We don't have a second on this yet, actually. So, but before we do, would you accept a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Can we also put a note that this is to safeguard against errors in the new bylaws during the first period and is not intended to remain beyond the next convention.
Within this section? Or
Like just as a note. Like as a as a note of intent. You feel free to reject this if you think it's not necessary, but I think adding an intent about what section 2 is for, right, would probably help to make sure that there's transparency in it and that is it necessary? Am I overthinking this?
I mean,
I can't think of any other section that had intent. I think, and from a consistency standpoint, we probably don't need it.
yeah.
Okie dokie.
But we could probably just discuss that like whenever we do convention. Like that could be something to be discussed, like why we did certain things.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Question. Do you think we should have the same thresholds for both the bylaws and the platform?
Yes.
We
Personally,
didn't mention the platform.
the platform?
Bylaws and platform changes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why we would have it different. I just wanted to see if there were any thoughts on that.
Okay, so convention change is locked in. Now we're looking at state committee changes. The notice is the same for both of those. I mean, one argument you could make against that is that platform changes could be arguably more time sensitive. Like the bylaw changes, we don't want that to change, but the platform, we generally don't want that to change either.
No, the platform is not.
Yeah, let's not. Let's leave it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta need to cut that train of thought off there. That's what like a resolution is for. That's not what we do with our platform. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll move us to a vote. Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes without objection. All right. I had a suggestion that was given to me from a parliamentarian about the latest edition language. And it's that somebody could argue that it's the latest edition at the time of adoption rather than the latest edition now. So you could say the current latest edition of Robert's Rules of Orders for Procedure Meeting and Issues Not Addressed in these bylaws, as revised at the time, as newly revised at the time of interpretation.
I like that. Yeah.
So I can,
couldn't we just add at the time of interpretation?
relies on the latest edition. It would be the newest edition of Robert's Rules of Order for Procedure Meetings, Issues Not Addressed in these bylaws, as revised, as newly revised at the time of interpretation. That's what we want to add, is as newly revised.
You have latest edition up here already.
I know, and I had a specific thing from a parliamentarian about this, and it's a little silly, but I think we have as newly revised at the time of interpretation. That way, if a decision is made, right, and then later challenged, right, the bylaw and the Roberts rules that would be interpreting that would govern the application of this would be bound to the edition where it happened at the time of the interpretation. So when the call is made, what were the rules? You can't apply yesterday's rules to tomorrow's chair or tomorrow's rules to yesterday's chair, right? That kind of thing has happened, and that's I think why they want to add
The
but that was
party
the
relies
suggestion.
on the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order for procedures, meetings, and issues not addressed in these bylaws as newly revised at the time of interpretation.
So this could actually go right here.
Do we
Relies
need
on
newly revised and latest edition in the same sentence?
Yeah, you could remove latest edition and
Why wouldn't you just leave latest edition
but
and
look, I would put
add it at the time of interpretation?
I would add it right here. Right. So after the Roner, I would say as newly revised at the time of interpretation. And then it's up to you if you want to strike latest
So the
edition.
party relies on the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order as newly revised at the time of interpretation for procedures, meetings, and issues not addressed in these bylaws.
Yes, as newly revised at the time of interpretation. You can keep or drop latest edition. My personal recommendation is to retain it, but you do not necessarily need it if you have this language.
How's this language? I just did a. I mean, change it to how you want for the first part, but this is kind of like a ChatGPT recommendation. So like covering that, like the newly revised and current, but also uh, it discusses if it's inconsistent and also an order of precedence to the bylaws.
The rules contained in the current edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, shall govern the party in all cases to which they are applicable and in which they are not inconsistent with these bylaws or any special rules of order adopted by the party. In the event of conflict, these bylaws shall take precedence.
That's actually really good. Let's throw in after newly revised at the time of interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time of interpretation. Perfect. That I think that covers it well. I'll take that as a friendly amendment.
Oh, oops.
I think it happened anyway.
Do
Do I have a second?
Counted as a motion.
Second.
Sweet. Cool. Well, a friendly amendment means it's before it was seconded, so
Oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't need a formal amendment process.
okay, so motion change section 2.
I like your suggestion, Nick. This was a good one.
read
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then
The irony is outside people would think that we're trying to create the bylaws to create some sort of dictatorship.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
you did a
These
friendly amendment.
any
Does that-
special rules of order. So any special rules of order includes our ability to make standing rules,
Yeah.
special rules of order, right? So that means that yeah, in an event of conflict, and specifically with like special rules of order, the bylaws take precedent over the special rules of orders, which take precedent over Robert's rules, which is applied based on the revision at the time of interpretation of the controversy in question or the decision in question. That's really strong. I feel like that's a good paragraph. I'm sorry.
Did you just do a whole sentence diagram? All right.
You're laughing at me.
Who motioned?
I did. Nick second. Or you can say joint motion, Austin Martin and Nick Zehr if you want to make it that. We agree on setting up the cult of Roner. I'm sorry, we call it
I don't know.
bylaw bureaucracy.
Yeah, cult of runners sounds weird.
Cult of Roner sounds hilarious. Okay. Any other discussion? Cult of Runner is a real thing. I'm just gonna throw that out there. All right, hearing none, I'll move us to a vote. Is there any objection or special rules of order? Just kidding. No objections? Going once, going twice. Motion passes without objection. And congratulations, we have made it to the end of the bylaws. And this is our first complete pass through the entire document as a committee. Congratulations, everyone. From here on, we're going to be doing some fine combing, and we'll also start considering different platform parts. But we'll do a final kind of quality check on everything that we've done and assemble that final version and get it ready. Um, we're moving along really ahead of schedule here. We're doing really good. Thank you to everyone who took part in this process. Not everyone is here tonight that's taken part, so I want to thank everyone that might be watching this online, and to our other members of the bylaws committee who have contributed a ton to this. If there's anything that you weren't present for that you want to present a suggestion or a change or a motion, or you want someone on the committee to do so for you, please feel free to let us know, speak up, send us an email, tell us what you're looking for. We'll put the text up there and we'll go over it in one of our upcoming committee meetings. There's only a few more before our convention intended for August. Hopefully, we'll be able to make that work on that timeline and be able to get that all squared away. Any further announcements or remarks or questions? Anybody who's interested in bylaw issues, let us know. And anybody who has anything to say, this is an opportunity at the end. Feel free.
Motion to adjourn.
There a second?
A second.
All right. Motion and a second. Is there any objection? Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you guys. This is excellent.
Yay, we did it.
Very nice.